let's make this intro really short. I'm trying to get better at watercolor pencils, so I made this drawing of an eye, and I'm going to share the things that I've learned. I hope you enjoy. Alright, so for the initial sketch I started with these two light colors, a light warm gray and a beige, just because I thought they would be easy enough to erase in case I wasn't too happy with the sketch, but then also they would dissolve very easily into the drawing once I added water to it. Yeah, and here you can basically see me add the first layer of colored pencil, then you will see me dissolve them with the water, go back with the pencil, go back with the water, and yeah, it's really just an iterative process. I have used watercolor pencils before, but I was mixing them with other media. So I was mixing them with watercolor for like background washes, like watercolor from tubes, from pens, I mean. And I also used colored pencil on top for finer details. And of course you can use the Albrecht Dürer for that. If you have the polychromos, I would suggest you use those just because they retain a finer tip more easily and it's just easier to add the details. But the Albrecht Dürer definitely work with that. Oh yeah, about that, I haven't had the Albrecht Dürer ones, which are really fine, nice watercolor pencils for too long, so I haven't worked with them very much, but I've had a smaller set of a different brand before, and I just really like the effects that you can get with it. Because I mean, the really interesting part about watercolor pencils is that you can retain some of the lines and, you know, kind of have a sketch that shines through and is kind of part of it. So that's really the interesting thing about watercolor pencils. So yeah, I really like it. And I just like it mixing with other media. But what I was trying to do here initially was to only use the watercolor pencils for this piece, just to see how far I could get. And also because you can use them as normal watercolor if you know how. But yeah, at the very end I added polychromos on top. It's not part of the video, but I will show you the end result at the end. Yeah, it didn't work out so well. So yeah, let's go over the things that I've learned. First of all, use good paper and tape it down. Yeah, basically the number one rule that you have for watercolor pieces, it's the same for watercolor pencil if you add, you know, higher amounts of water. So what you see me use here is a mixed media paper in a sketchbook, so I didn't tape it down whatsoever. It's also a rather lightweight paper, so it did not handle everything super well. Like, one of the cool effects that you can get with watercolor pencil is added to the wet paper, because you get a very intense color and then also a very intense line of the pencils. So that's something that's really interesting, but this paper was not able to handle it well. Also, it buckled a lot, and yeah, I let it dry overnight, and the next morning I came back to a piece of paper that buckled and warped in all the wrong places, and yeah, it was not cool to work on that a little bit more. Yeah, you will see that in the video actually. The other thing is use vibrant colors and don't mix too many of them. That's basically also a rule that you have in watercolor. But then also you can use darker colors if you want to create larger washes. And I didn't really try and do that too much. Like for the skin, I could have used more browns and maybe purples or something like that and just dissolve them over the paper. But I tried to go over it with this light beige and it didn't really show up. So what I ended up with was mostly the gray that I used for the shadows, and that kind of spread out over the skin. And yeah, that was definitely not something that I had intended to do, and that just been a mistake. Here you see me add some hair that was really ugly, and yeah, I kind of wish I hadn't done that. But yeah. Oh yeah, and here you can already see the problems that I had with the paper. Like you can see pilling happening, and yeah, you can see little bits of paper scrubbing off that move around. So what I tried to do to save the paper was to basically use a different piece of paper as a palette and then dissolve the paint on there and then add it to the paper that had already suffered too much. So that's a really nice technique. So if you only have the watercolor pencils, I definitely recommend doing that for the washes. I really should have started out with that, but yeah, I didn't. But it's a really nice way to save the paper. But I mean, to add the pencil on the wet paper for like really crisp details is something that I really like doing. So if I were to use it again, I would definitely just opt for a better paper. So yeah, here you can see the pilled pieces move around on the paper a little bit, like as the brush moves around. And here I decided to, call it a day. And then the next morning I came back to this. So it completely buckled and in all different directions. And yeah, but at this point I only wanted to add some colored pencil on top without dissolving them. So I started out with the Albrecht Dürer. I was still determined to make it work. The white one is not an Albrecht Dürer one. That is actually a Caran d'Ache Pablo white, because I don't have a white colored pencil. So yeah, I wanted to add that highlight back. So that was the first pencil that I used that was basically out of the challenge that I had imposed on myself. You will see me add water to the lashes just because you can intensify the color. The Albrecht Dürer let you do that because they're so pigmented, and when you add the water to it, it intensifies the colors. That's not necessarily the case with cheaper or student grade watercolor pencils. Like if you add water to it, they don't necessarily intensify, but the Albrecht Dürer definitely do that. So that's kind of a nice thing about them. That's really something that I enjoy about, watercolor in pencil forms. If I were to use them again, or I mean, obviously I will use them again, I would just mix them with media as I did before, just because I want to get the best out of them, but not use them in their weak points. And like large washes is just not something that they're very good for. But yeah, for intense details and intense colors, and with pencil lines still showing up, like if you enjoy that, that's what they're really good for. So yeah, unfortunately it's not very sharp where I'm using the water on the lashes, but it's a really cool effect. I think you would like it too if you tried it out. Yeah, so that's basically what the Albrecht Dürer stage was, and then I added polychromos on top of that. Alright, so I wasn't completely satisfied with the watercolor pencil stage. You saw what it looked like. I tried to fix it a little bit with polychromos on top of it, so this is what it looks like now. Looks really freaky with that half-finished hair, so maybe if I show it like this. Can you focus on this camera? Awesome. Yeah, so also I tried to straighten the paper, flatten the paper a little bit. What can I say? I learned a thing or two. I hope so did you. Let's try this again, and maybe next time I'll be more successful. Bye.